All right, pool guy, so here's the question. We just had a question about building a fiberglass pool, stoning a hot tub, and you went into a lot of scenarios about the way that you would build it, knowing what you know now. But what if somebody doesn't have as much experience as you, and a homeowner asks them for something, and they try it, and it works for a while, but then maybe it doesn't, and additional maintenance is needed? Could you talk through how much blame a contractor and how much financial responsibility for something like that would be expected?
I think there's a lot of different ways to go with this, but let's start with the most basic. If a contractor says, I've never done this before, but I think I know how to do it, and you say okay as the homeowner, you've given them approval to try something. If it falls apart immediately, it's the contractor's fault. If it lasts a year or maybe two, it's no longer the contractor's fault, and here's why. We're in Michigan. I know that the contract law in Michigan says that the builder gives a 1-year warranty on something they build. If it hasn't completely fallen apart in 1 year, it is not the builder's responsibility. Is it their fault? Maybe, but it's not their responsibility, not financially anyway. So first scenario would be if they say, well, I've never really done this, but I'm willing to try it, and I think I know what I'm doing, and you've agreed to that, it's on you, the homeowner. I don't want to cover for shitty builders. I do not want to do that. That's not why I'm making the statement. However, legally, I would think that if you've agreed for them to have them, you're basically paying for them to try something. That ends up on you, unfortunately, if it came down to financials. Now,
what if you hire them and they just say yes, but they don't?
If they say, it's the same thing though. If this didn't fall apart in a year, by law, now unless they have on their contract, we warranty our work for 10 years, blah, blah. If they give you that statement, then clearly it's on them. But if they didn't give you that statement, the legal law, and I imagine most states are similar, 1 year, 2 year, whatever it is. By law, the builder, whoever it is that did the construction, is responsible for a short period of time. Beyond that is on them. In Michigan, there's a 1-year warranty based on state law. If year one and 1 day something falls off, it is not the builder's responsibility, unless the builder said, we warranty our work and our labor for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever. In our case, if it fell apart in a year, I'm automatically going to do something. That's just me. But legally, I wouldn't have to. Legally, from our state legal system. So I would say it's probably, if things don't last a year, and in Michigan we have this hard freeze thaw cycle that we go through. If I built the pool in the spring, or I did something, this gets into the minutia of it, but if I did something in March, it technically has to last till March, till I'm out of quote unquote warranty. Well, you don't open the pool till May or June and something fell apart. Who could argue that it didn't fall apart in March or not, and I'm no longer in warranty? So that kind of stuff is yucky, and there's no good answer to it. What I would suggest, though, is try to stay civil and work with a builder. If there's a quality builder out there that wants to do right because it's right to do, they're going to work with you toward it. Understand, a builder's business is to make money, to survive, and do whatever. So just blaming it on them is not always the most accurate way of doing it. I think in some cases it's give and take, and nobody wins. If it's clearly the builder's fault and the builder takes care of it, great. But if it's somewhere in between, everybody loses. Even if you squeeze the builder into fixing it themselves, they still lose, and you don't necessarily win. If you agree to pay part of it and they agree to do the work, nobody wins. If you agree to pay 100% of it and nobody wins. So those are those sticky areas where no matter what happens, it's not the best no matter what. However, I would always err on the judgment of let's try to work together to solve this. In that particular case, the scenario that we talked about, which led to this conversation, one-sided conversation, because I'm doing all the talking, but I wasn't clear as to who did what and how long it lasted and who's responsible for fixing it is. And that's just a gray area that if we ignore each other, we're just going to fight. And if we're going to fight, we're going to get into a legal situation. If we get in a legal situation, I promise you, nobody wins. Nobody. So at all costs, try to figure out a way to come up with a solution and work together to get it done. Because once it gets to that point, you can win a lawsuit 100% and you're going to lose. Either side. It's a no-win. The court system is not the way to handle it. But I understand why it gets to that point sometimes, but that's never the way to solve a problem. There's communication and working while everyone's butt hurt and everybody's egos are in the way and everything is in the way. That's not the solution. So ultimately, work toward a solution that both of you can live with. No one's going to be happy, but live with it until it's done.